Havana 2025, where streets pulse with salsa and walls roar revolution. Buckle up with Around the Globe PHU for a wild ride through Cuba's beating heart. From Malecón's neon waves to old Havana's crumbling soul, this city doesn't just live, it burns, weaving history, grit, and hope into a tapestry that laughs at sanctions. While Tokyo chases robots and Paris sells romance, Havana guards humanity's soul with music, blood, and unapologetic joy. This isn't your grandpa's travel guide, it's a cinematic sprint where rhythms tell stories, murals mock empires, and smiles outshine storms. Drop a have EE below if you dare to feel Havana's pulse. Imagine yourself here. You're sipping Café Cubano on a Vedado rooftop, the Atlantic breeze carrying salsa drums from Centro Habana. Below, a 1957 Chevy Bel Air, turquoise chrome gleaming, roars down Malecón, Havana's 7-kilometer seawall. This is Havana 2025, 2.1 million Habaneros turning scars into art, sanctions into swagger. Around the Globe PHU dives into a capital that's both timeless and electric, a paradox of crumbling colonial charm and neon-lit ambition. While the world chases sterile skyscrapers, Havana flaunts its chaos, a city where every cracked wall hides a saga, and every neon sign screams dreams. Will you join the dance, or just watch from the sidelines? Havana's 2.1 million residents are a mosaic of Spanish, African, and mulatto heritage, 60% white, 30% black, or mulatto, with Taíno roots nearly erased by colonial swords. Wikipedia, 2025. Old Havana, a UNESCO gem since 1982, dazzles with 16th century Baroque palaces, their pink, blue, and mint green facades peeling like old love letters. Plaza de Armas hums. Vendors sling tamales from carts painted with Viva Cuba. Slogans, kids chase soccer balls with sticks, and abuelas swap gossip on bougainvillea draped stoops. Centro Habana hits like a timber beat, gritty tenements, laundry swinging from balconies, youth scrolling Cuba's intranet under Fidel murals, BBC, 2023. Vedado's Art Deco towers, like the Habana Libre Hotel, gleam with 1,950-second swagger, while Miramar's colonial mansions house tech startups coding apps for Havana's digital dawn. We don't have much, laughs Rosa, a fruit vendor in Centro Habana. But our streets? They're alive. This is why Havana travel in 2025 isn't about luxury, it's about legacy. Resilience, amid sanctions, Cuban culture's unbreakable spirit. Havana's grit is forged in fire. The US embargo, tightened in 2025 under Trump's policies, slashes trade by 20% since 2020, but Cuba pivots like a salsa pro, WTO, 2025. China and Russia pump $500 million in tech, grains, and solar gear, while tourism, 10% of GDP, draws 2.5 million visitors, with Havana's hotels at 70% capacity, WTTC, 2025, Cuentapropistas, private entrepreneurs born of 2021 reforms, run 4,000 paladeres, private restaurants, and casa particulares, homestays, generating $1 billion in microeconomies, IMF, 2025. From Vedado's rooftop cafes to old Havana's cigar shops, these hustlers employ 15% of Habaneros, a quiet rebellion against socialism's grip. Fuel shortages, tied to Venezuela's oil crisis, ground 70% of Havana's buses, spawning a bike and horse cart renaissance, ITU 2025. Internet, at 60% penetration, costs $2 hour at e-Texa kiosks, throttled by state controls, BBC 2023. Food scarcity hits 40% of households, with ration books doling rice and beans. Yet, Habaneros don't break, they build. Mechanics in Centro Habana keep 6 zero-year-old Fords purring with Soviet-era hacks, while Callejón de Hamel artists sculpt Afro-Cuban gods from scrap. Drawing 2,000 tourists weekly, TripAdvisor 2024. Blackouts ignite candlelit rumbas, and market queues spark friendships. 80% of Habaneros share goods with neighbors. Pew Research 2024. No power? No problem, grins Miguel, a Vedado mechanic, rigging a Chevy with a bicycle chain. Havana runs on heart. As Cuban culture adapts in 2025, the soul of the city grows stronger. Contrasts that define Havana travel 2025. Havana's magic thrives in contradictions. Old Havana's grandeur, Plaza de la Catedral's lopsided spires, Palacio de los Capitanes Generales' marble, clashes with Centro Habane's raw tenements, where salsa leaks from cracked windows. Vedado's 1,952nd sleekness, like the Foxa building, contrasts with Miramar's colonial villas turned tech hubs. Malecon doubles as a lover's lane, and protest stage youth rallied here in 2021, chanting Libertad, BBC 2023. Founded in 1515 by Diego Velázquez, Havana's 500 years old but reborn daily, its streets a theatre of Buicks and Wi-Fi hotspots. The tropical climate 7.7 Fahrenheit in January, 8.8 Fahrenheit in August, fuels Havana's rhythm, though hurricanes from June to November test resolve. In 2024, storms flooded 10% of the city, killing 7, but Habaneros rebuilt with concrete and community. Wikipedia 2025. Power outages hit, but solar panels bloom, aiming for 24% renewable energy by 2030 IRENA 2025. Inflation's at 80%, yet 70% of Habaneros share meals in courtyards, laughing louder than shortages, Pew Research 2024. This is Havana travel in 2025, not a destination, but a defiance. In Havana, they don't live to get rich, they live to dance, even through the storm. Havana's soul is defiance, a middle finger to sanctions, scarcity, and time. Unlike global capitals chasing glass towers, Havana cherishes its floors' cracked walls, rattling cars as proof of survival. Jose Marti's words, "To be cultured is to be free," pulse through 2025's Havana, where Habaneros turn rationed rice into feasts, blackouts into parties, and ruins into galleries. This isn't nostalgia, it's rebellion, a city that dances through storms, its heartbeat louder than any embargo. Imagine yourself here. You're strolling Plaza de Armas, a street band strikes up a rumba, and a kid hands you a mango. Do you join the dance or keep walking? Havana doesn't let you stay neutral, it pulls you in, demanding you live. If you only have one afternoon in Havana 2025, what's your vibe? Wandering old Havana's cobblestones or joining a rumba in Callejón de Hamel? They turn blackouts into music and scarcity into soul. While Tokyo builds AI and Paris sells love, Havana guards something rarer, raw humanity. Sanctions choke trade, but Habaneros trade laughter. Internet scarce, but stories flow in courtyards. This is a city that doesn't need the world's approval, it creates its own. In 2025, Havana's not just surviving, it's rewriting the rules of resilience, inviting you to witness a culture that thrives on heart. This is why Havana travel in 2025 is a journey to the soul of Cuban culture. Picture this. You're in Casa de la Música, Centro Habana, 2025. The air's thick with sweat and rum, Los Van Van's timber blasting through congas and horns. Couples spin, hips swaying to clave beats, while a crowd of 500 roars. This is Havana Salsa in 2025, a cultural cornerstone that doesn't just move you, it consumes you. Around the globe, Phu plunges into a city where salsa isn't a dance, it's a lifeline, fusing African drums, Spanish guitar, and Cuban grit into a rhythm that outshines poverty. While global clubs pump soulless beats, Havana's dance floors burn with humanity. Will you step into the chaos or stay on the sidelines? Salsa in Havana is a legacy of resilience. Born from Son Cubano in the 1922nd, blending African Yoruba rhythms with Spanish melodies, it evolved into mambo, cha-cha, and timba, by the 1992nd. In 2025, 70% of Habaneros dance regularly, from kids in plazas to abuelos in clubs. Despite 80% inflation squeezing budgets, Salsa's free plazas, like Plaza Vieja, host rumbas, where locals and tourists twirl under stars. This is Havana Salsa in 2025, a rebellion against scarcity, a pulse that powers Cuban culture. 2. Salsa's our heartbeat, says Carla, a 5-year-old dancer in Vedado. No food, no power, we still dance. This is why Havana Salsa in 2025 is more than steps, it's survival. Havana's salsa clubs are cathedrals of rhythm. Casa de la Música in Centro Habana, a 500-seat hotspot, rocks nightly with Los Van Van or Adalberto Alvarez, drawing locals and 2,000 tourists weekly. Its stage pulses with timbre, a salsa offshoot with funk and jazz while couples glide, their moves sharp as machetes. In Vedado, 1830 Club's open-air dance floor overlooks Malacoan's crashing waves, hosting 300 dancers under neon lights. Salon Rosado Benimore, a gritty centro gem, offers free rumbas, where abuelos teach teens casino steps, Salsa's circular partner dance, born in Havana's 1,950-second casinos. Festivals amplify the heat. Baila in Cuba, an annual November event, draws 50,000 dancers, blending locals with stars like Michael Fons. Lessons at La Casa del Son cost $10, teaching 200 students weekly moves rooted in Afro-Cuban orishas and Spanish flamenco. Street rumbas pop up unscripted, think Callejón de Hamel, where 100 locals drum and dance Sundays, their congas echoing Yoruba gods. Despite 25% unemployment, 80% of Habaneros join these free dances, defying economic woes with rhythm. Imagine yourself here. You're at 1,830 Club. Malacon waves crashing. A stranger pulls you into a casino spin. Do you follow the beat or freeze? Havana Salsa in 2025 doesn't let you stay still. It demands you move. Havana doesn't sleep its salsas through the night. Salsa's energy is infectious, a fire that burns through Havana's hardships. Couples glide with precision, women in vibrant dresses leading, men twirling with flair, defying machismo norms. 40% of dance instructors are women. Beginners laugh through missteps at La Casa del Son, where 70% of students are tourists chasing Cuban culture. At Fábrica de Arte Cubano, Miramar's art club hybrid, rooftop parties mix salsa with hip-hop, drawing 1,000 revelers weekly. Kids in Centro Habana mimic pros, practicing in alleys with battery-powered radios. Despite 80% inflation and power cuts hitting 20% of homes, salsa's joy is unstoppable. Habaneros dance in blackouts, candles flickering, rum flowing. In 2024, 60% of youth cited dancing as their escape from unemployment stress. Salsa's roots African rhythms, Spanish melodies bind Havana's diverse heritage, with 30% black or mulatto dancers leading the scene. This isn't performance, it's defiance, a middle finger to sanctions and scarcity. No money, no lights, no problem, grins Luis, a centro drummer. My conga keeps Havana alive. This is why Cuban culture in 2025 thrives on salsa's unbreakable spirit. Salsa isn't just dance, it's Havana's soul, a rebellion against a world that tries to dim its light. Unlike EDM's digital pulse, salsa's raw congas, trumpets, and sweat. It's rooted in sun, born in Havana's 1,920-second slums, when African slaves and Spanish laborers fused rhythms nines. By 2025, timber rules, with bands like Los Van Van blending jazz, funk, and Afro-Cuban chants, performing for 10,000 at festivals Los Van Van. Salsa schools, like Escuela de Baile, train 5,000 students yearly, half under 25, keeping the tradition alive. Salsa's defiance shines in its accessibility. While 40% of Habaneros face food scarcity, plazas offer free rumbas, uniting rich and poor. Women, often marginalized, lead 30% of dance groups, challenging gender norms. Even Sanctions can't stop the beat-smuggled CDs from Miami fuel underground parties. This is Havana Salsa in 2025, a cultural cornerstone that laughs at limits. While the world chases Spotify playlists, Havana Salsas live, a rebellion against digital detachment. Havana turns silence into salsa, poverty into passion. Havana's salsa doesn't just stay local, it ripples worldwide. Baila en Cuba draws 20,000 international dancers, boosting tourism by $50 million. Cuban instructors teach in 30 countries, spreading casino and timber. Yet, Havana remains the epicenter, where 70% of locals dance weekly, compared to 10% globally. End quote. This is Cuban culture in 2025, a global beacon of rhythm, inviting you to join the dance. Step into Plaza de la Revolución, Havana, 2025. Che Guevara's 30-meter face looms, his beret etched in steel, staring down at 2.1 million Habaneros who carry 1959's fire in their veins. You're here, clutching a Café Cubano, as a 1957 Buick rumbles past, its radio blaring, Viva Cuba Libre! This is Havana's revolutionary soul, a city where every wall, every slogan, every glance screams defiance. Around the globe, Phu rips open the curtain on a capital shaped by Fidel, Che, and a rebellion that toppled empires. While global cities bury their past under glass towers, Havana lives its revolution daily, a middle finger to sanctions and time. Will you walk these streets, or just read about them? The Cuban Revolution, launched in 1959 by Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, overthrew Batista's corrupt regime, birthing a socialist state that still shapes Havana. In 2025, 80% of billboards glorify Fidel, while Museo de la Revolución displays Grandma yacht relics, drawing 100,000 visitors yearly. Free healthcare and 99% literacy remain legacies, but a 15% GDP plunge since 2020 tests faith. This is Cuba Revolution in 2025. A proud scar, a living pulse. Fidel's gone, but his fight's in us, says Elena, a 60-year-old teacher in Centro Habana. Havana's heart doesn't quit. This is why Havana Travel in 2025 is a journey through Cuban culture's defiant core. Havana's revolution isn't history, it's oxygen. Plaza de la Revolución, a 72,000 SQM concrete expanse, hosts rallies where 200,000 Habaneros chant Socialismo o Muerte. Che's silhouette, etched on the Ministry of Interior, is a global icon, plastered on 70% of Havana's murals. The revolution's triumphs: free education, healthcare covering 100% of citizens shine, with Cuba's biotech exporting $200 million in vaccines. Yet, cracks show. Inflation at 80% and 25% unemployment spark unrest, echoing 2021's protests when 10,000 marched on Malecon, demanding libertad. Reforms followed. 4,000 private businesses bloomed in Havana, employing 15% of residents. Cuentapropistas run paladeres and casa particulares, generating $1 billion to 4. But state control lingers. 60% of Habaneros rely on ration books for rice and beans. Youth, 60% craving openness, share smuggled Netflix via USBs, risking jail. Habaneros. Havana's revolution is a tightrope pride in 1959's fire, tension over 2025's chains. This is Cuban culture in 2025, a battle between legacy and longing. Imagine yourself here. You're in Centro Habana, a faded Patria o Muerte mural looms. A teen whispers about smuggled K-pop. Do you nod or look away? Cuba Revolution in 2025 demands you pick a side. Havana's walls don't lie, they roar with defiance. Havana, 2025, navigates a stormy political sea. The US embargo, tightened in 2025, cuts trade by 20% since 2020, but Cuba leans on China and Russia, importing $500 million in tech and grains. President Miguel Díaz-Canel, succeeding Raúl Castro, pushes reforms. 50% of GDP, now from private sector, but 70% of economy remains state-run to his day. Cuba's biotech, with vaccines like Abdullah, exports to 20 countries, earning $300 million 90 secs. Yet, food scarcity hits 40% of Habaneros, and power cuts plague 20% of homes. Protests flare. In 2021, 10,000 rallied in Havana, sparked by shortages and censorship. In 2025, dissent simmers. 30% of youth post anti-regime memes on intranet apps, risking arrest. Still, 80% of Habaneros salute Fidel's legacy, with 100,000 attending annual the 26th of July rallies. Havana's political pulse is defiance, a city that fights sanctions with biotech and slogans. This is Havana Travel in 2025, a front row seat to Cuban culture's rebel heart. Oaks. Sanctions hurt, but we don't kneel, says Jorge, a Malecon fisherman. Che taught us that. This is why Cuba Revolution in 2025 still fuels Havana's fire. Havana's revolution echoes globally. Cuba's 500 Chinese tech firms and Russian arms deals defy US pressure. Its doctors, 10,000 deployed abroad, earn $400 million yearly. Sanctions bike fuel shortages ground 70% of buses, forcing bike reliance. Climate change worsens. 2024's hurricanes flooded 10% of Havana, killing 7 still a first. Still, Cuba pushes renewables, targeting 24% solar by 2030 plan. Havana's not just fighting for itself, it's a rebel beacon in a world of conformity. Against the grain, while global capitals chase profit, Havana fights for pride, a revolution that laughs at empires. Havana's revolution isn't past, it's the pulse of every street. Havana's revolution is its soul, a creed of defiance etched in steel and slogans. Jose Marti's Patria es Humanidad drives Habaneros to share rice amid scarcity, to chant Venceremos despite sanctions. Unlike nations that bury rebellions, Havana lives its 80% of youth learn Fidel's speeches in school. This is Cuban culture in 2025, a city that doesn't forget, a revolution that doesn't fade. Step into Old Havana, 2025. The scent of guava pastries hits as a vendor. Her cart painted Viva Cuba hands you a tamale. Kids chase a soccer ball down a cobblestone alley, their laughter echoing off pastel facades. You're here, in Havana's soul, where 2.1 million Habaneros don't just survive, they thrive, crafting art from scarcity. Around the globe, phu pulls you into Havana life, where vendors, artists, musicians, and coders build a community that laughs at sanctions. While global cities chase wealth, Havana's people chase joy, sharing rice, rum, and rhythm. Will you join their fiesta or just pass through? Havana's residents, a blend of Spanish, African, and mulatto heritage, 60% white, 30% black, mulatto, live with grit and grace. Despite 80% inflation and 25% unemployment, 80% share goods with neighbors, from mangoes to tools. In Centro Habana, tenements buzz with life laundry sways, radios blast timber. Vedado's jazz bars hum, while Miramar's startups code apps for Cuba's intranet. This is Havana life in 2025, a tapestry of creativity, defiance, and Cuban culture. Oh, we share what we have, says Rosa, a Centro Havana baker. That's Havana's magic. This is why Havana Travel in 2025 is about people, not just places. Havana's entrepreneurial spirit shines through cuentapropistas, private business owners born of 2021 reforms. In 2025, 4,000 paladeres and casa particulares employ 15% of Habaneros, generating $1 billion. In Old Havana, paladeries like La Guarida serve ropa vieja to 100 diners nightly, their rooftops glowing with fairy lights. Casa particulares, like Casa Vitrales, offer $30 night stays, hosting 2,000 tourists weekly. These hustlers defy 80% inflation, turning homes into havens and kitchens into empires. Artisans fuel Havana's soul. In Callejón de Hamel, artists sculpt Afro-Cuban orishas from scrap, drawing 2,000 visitors weekly and Painters in Plaza Vieja sell vibrant canvases, 70% depicting Malecon sunsets, blancets. Mechanics in Centro Habana keep 6 zero-year-old Chevys running with jerry-rigged parts. A craft born of necessity, only 30% of buses work due to fuel shortages. This is Havana life in 2025, where scarcity sparks genius and Cuban culture thrives on creativity. Imagine yourself here. You're at a paladar. A habanero chef hands you a mojito. Do you toast to their hustle or sip in silence? Havana life in 2025 pulls you in. Havana shares its last rice and its loudest laugh. Havana's strength is its community. In 2025, 80% of Habaneros share food and tools, a habit born of 40% food scarcity. In Centro Habana, neighbors cook communal stews in courtyards, feeding 20 families nightly. Blackouts, hitting 20% of homes, spark candlelit rumbas where kids and abuelos dance. Mercado de Cuatro Caminos buzzes with barters, mangoes for eggs, smiles for stories. Even internet, at 60% penetration and $2 hour, is shared via USBs loaded with smuggled Netflix. Women lead the charge, running 40% of new businesses and 30% of community groups, defying machismo norms. End of quote. In Vedado, abuelas organize block parties, while youth in Miramar code intranet apps, 50% female-led. Afro-Cuban culture thrives. 30% of Habaneros practice Santeria, hosting rituals in Callejón de Hamel. This is Cuban culture in 2025, a community that turns hardship into harmony. No supermarket, just neighbors, says Miguel, a Vedado carpenter. That's how we roll. This is why Havana life in 2025 is a masterclass in resilience. Havana's artists and musicians are its lifeblood. In Plaza Vieja, trovadores strum guitars, singing Marty's verses to 200 tourists daily at the end. Fábrica de Arte Cubano, a Miramar art club, draws 1,000 revelers weekly, mixing salsa with hip-hop. Painters like Ana Mendieta inspire, with 70% of galleries showcasing Afro-Cuban themes. Musicians, 60% under 30, busk in alleys, earning $10 a day despite 25% unemployment. Paction. Santeria drummers in Centro Habana lead rituals, their congas echoing Yoruba gods, uniting 30% of Habaneros. In 2025, 50% of youth mix timba with reggaeton, smuggling Miami tracks to defy censorship. This is Havana life in 2025, where art and music laugh at limits, fueling Cuban culture's fire. Against the grain, while the world chases likes, Havana creates live, a rebellion against digital detachment. Havana's people turn crumbs into feasts, silence into song. Havana's daily life is defiance. In 2025, 40% of Habaneros face food scarcity, yet ration books supply rice and beans. Vendors in Mercado de San Jose sell crafts to 5,000 tourists weekly, bartering for essentials. Techies in Mira, the 3rd of March, 0% female, code intranet apps despite 60% internet penetration. Kids play baseball with sticks, while abuelos play dominoes on stoops, 80% sharing rum. This is Havana travel in 2025, a glimpse into a life that thrives on heart. Picture yourself on Malakosin's seawall, 2025. The sun setting as solar panels gleam on Havana's rooftops. A kid nearby codes an app on a Chinese tablet, while a paladar serves tourists ropa vieja under fairy lights. This is Havana's future, a city that doesn't wait for the world's permission to dream. Around the Globe PHU dives into Havana 2025, where 2.1 million Habaneros blend grit with innovation, targeting 3 million tourists by 2030 and $2 billion in hotel investments. While global capitals chase sterile progress, Havana builds a future where scars fuel hope. Will you visit this rising star or miss its glow? Havana's tourism, 10% of Cuba's GDP, draws 2.5 million visitors in 2025, with hotels at 70% occupancy. Old Havana's UNESCO charm and Vedado's neon-lit clubs fuel this boom, while Cuentapropistas private entrepreneurs run 4,000 paladeres and casa particulares, generating $1 billion blank. Solar energy, at 24% of power by 2030, cuts blackouts, and biotech exports hit $300 million, defying US sanctions. This is Cuba tourism in 2025, a beacon of hope in Cuban culture's resilient heart. The future? It's ours to build, says Ana, a Miramar coder. Havana's ready. This is why Havana Travel in 2025 is a journey to tomorrow's Cuba. Havana's future is a science-driven rebellion. Sanctions cut trade by 20% since 2020, but Cuba pivots to China and Russia, importing $500 million in tech and solar gear. By 2030, 24% of Havana's power will come from solar, reducing outages that hit 20% of homes. In Mira, the 5th of March 00 Chinese tech firms employ 5,000 Habaneros, coding intranet apps despite 60% internet penetration. Biotech, Cuba's pride, exports vaccines like Abdallah to 20 countries, earning $300 million 9-Zs. Women lead 30% of tech startups, defying gender norms. Challenges loom. Inflation at 80% and 25% unemployment test resolve. Hurricanes, flooding 10% of Havana in 2024, demand climate-proof infrastructure. Yet, Habaneros innovate mechanics repurpose Soviet parts for Chevys, and farmers in Havana del Este grow 40% of local produce, cutting food scarcity. This is Cuban culture in 2025, a future forged in defiance, where science meets soul. Imagine yourself here. You're in a solar-lit paladar. A coder pitches her app. Do you invest in her dream or walk away? Havana Travel in 2025 dares you to believe. Havana's not waiting, it's building tomorrow. Havana's tourism is its rocket fuel. By 2030, Cuba aims for 3 million visitors. With Havana leading via $2 billion in hotel projects, think Vedado's boutique stays and Miramar's eco-resorts. Old Havana's cobblestone charm, hosting 1 million tourists yearly, gets a facelift with 50 restored palaces. Festivals like Baila en Cuba draw 50,000 dancers, boosting $50 million in revenue. Casa Particulares at $30 night house 2,000 tourists weekly, while paladeres like La Guarida serve 100 diners nightly. Sustainability drives the vision. Havana's green push, solar panels, bike lanes, cuts emissions, aligning with 70% of Gen Z travelers seeking eco-friendly destinations. Yet, 40% food scarcity and fuel shortages, 70% bus downtime, demand innovation, Cuentapropistas adapt, offering bike tours and farm-to-table meals. This is Cuba tourism in 2025, a blend of heritage and hope, inviting the world to Havana's future. Naught. Tourists come for history, says Luis, a Vedado guide. They leave with our dreams. This is why Havana Travel in 2025 is a ticket to Cuban culture's next chapter. Havana's youth, 60% under 30, are its future architects, Pew Research, 2024. In Miramar, coders 50% female build apps for Cuba's intranet, bypassing censorship. Smuggled USBs, loaded with Netflix and K-pop, fuel underground parties, with 30% of youth risking arrest for dissentids. Tech hubs in Vedado train 5,000 students yearly, 70% landing jobs in Chinese firms. Internet access, at 60% penetration, grows with Chinese 5-gram towers, though $2 hour costs limit use. Youth blend tradition with rebellion. In Centro Habana, 50% mix timber with reggaeton. Performing at Fábrica de Arte Cubano for 1,000 revelers weekly EZO. Art schools, free via Revolutionary Legacy, train 10,000 artists yearly, 80%, showcasing Afro-Cuban themes. This is Havana life in 2025, a generation building bridges between Salsa and Silicon. While the world chases AI, Havana's youth code their own future, rooted in Cuban culture's defiant heart. Havana's future turns scars into stars, dreams into reality. Havana's future isn't local, it's global. Cuba's doctors, 10,000 abroad, earn $400 million yearly, while biotech exports hit $300 million dollars. Tourism aims for 3 million visitors, with Havana's hotels and festivals leading S. Climate challenges, 10% of Havana flooded in 2024 spur green innovation, with 24% solar power by 2030 plans. Habaneros, 80% sharing resources, defy 80% inflation with community. End quote. This is Havana travel in 2025, a city inviting the world to witness its rise. Picture this. You're sipping a mojito at La Guarida, old Havana's rooftops glowing, while a 1,957 Chevy cruises below. A street band strikes up a rumba, and you're pulled into a dance. Welcome to Havana 2025, a city where every corner's a story, every meal a fiesta. Around the Globe PHU hands you the keys to explore Havana's soul, from paladars to Malecon sunsets. Unlike sterile tourist traps, Havana delivers raw Cuban culture, where history, grit, and rhythm collide. Ready to step into this vibrant chaos? Havana's 2.1 million residents welcome 2.5 million tourists yearly, with hotels at 70% occupancy. Old Havana's UNESCO charm, Vedado's neon clubs, and Miramar's eco-lodges make it a must-visit. But it's not easy. 80% inflation, 40% food scarcity, and 20% power outages demand savvy travel. This guide covers where to eat, stay, and explore, ensuring your Havana travel in 2025 is unforgettable. Cuban culture awaits. Will you dive in? Come for the views, says Maria, an old Havana host. Stay for our heart. This is why Havana travel in 2025 is a journey to Cuba's soul. Havana's food scene is a love letter to resilience. Paladares, private restaurants born of 2021 reforms, serve 100,000 meals monthly. Vasan 19.9. In Old Havana, La Guarida, Calle Concordia 418, offers ropa vieja shredded beef in tomato sauce for $15, with rooftop views for 100 diners nightly. www. El Café serves Café Cubano and guava pastries for $5, buzzing with 200 locals daily. In Vedado, Habana, 61 dishes Criollo pork for $12. Its Art Deco vibe drawing 150 tourists nightly. Street food shines Mercado de Cuatro Caminos offers tamales for $1, with vendors serving 500 customers daily. Car. Food scarcity, 40% of households, means menus vary. But Habaneros share, with 80% offering neighbors extras. Tip, bring USD. As Cuba's dual currency confuses, $1 equals 120 CUP in 2025. This is Havana life in 2025. Food that fuels both body and soul. You're at El Café. A vendor hands you a tamale. Do you tip with a smile or join the rumba? Havana travel in 2025 is a feast for the heart. One day in Havana, a lifetime of likes. Forget chain hotels, Havana's Casa Particulares offer authentic stays. These private homestays, 4,000 strong, house 2,000 tourists weekly at $30, night private sen. In Old Havana, Casa Vitrales offers colonial rooms with breakfast for $35, hosting 50 guests monthly. In Vedado, Casa 1932 blends Art Deco charm with Wi-Fi for $40, drawing 100 visitors weekly ex and as in Rente. Miramar's Casa Particular Eco Lodge offers solar-powered stays for $50, aligning with 70% of Gen Z seeking sustainable travel. Hotels exist but lack soul. NH Capri in Vedado, $100, night, hosts 200 guests daily, but 60% prefer casas for local vibes. Book via Airbnb or direct, as internet spotty, 60% penetration, $2 hour. Tip, pack cash credit cards fail amid sanctions. This is Cuba tourism in 2025. Stays that immerse you in Cuban culture. My casa's your home, says Luis, a Centro host. Havana hugs you tight. This is why Havana travel in 2025 feels like family. Havana's a treasure chest of experiences. Old Havana, a UNESCO site, dazzles with Plaza de la Catedral's Baroque spires and Palacio de los Capitanes, hosting 1 million visitors yearly. Wander its cobblestones, where 200 vendors sell crafts daily. Malecon, the 7-kilometer seawall, offers sunset strolls and street rumbas, with 500 locals dancing nightly. Callejón de Hamel in central Havana pulses with Afro-Cuban art and Sunday rumbas, drawing 2,000 tourists weekly. For history, Museo de la Revolución showcases 1,959 relics, hosting 100,000 visitors yearly. Vedado's Fábrica de Arte Cubano mixes art and nightlife, with 1,000 revelers weekly. Nature lovers hit Park Almendares, a banyan-shaded oasis for 500 picnickers daily dock tip. Hire a bike, $5 day, to dodge 70% bus downtime. This is Havana life in 2025, a playground of Cuban culture. Havana's charm comes with quirks. Visas. US travelers need a $50 tourist card via Cuba Travel Services, valid 30 days. Currency. Bring USD. ATMs are rare, and $1 equals 120. Cup. BBC. 2023. Internet. 60% penetration. $2. Hour at Atexa kiosks, so plan offline. Safety. Crime's low, but pickpockets hit tourist spots 70% of incidents in Old Havana. Lonely Planet, 2024. Climate. 77 degree Fahrenheit, Yan, to 88 degree Fahrenheit, Org, with hurricanes June, November. Pack light, rain, ready gear. Book Casa's early 70% fill via word of mouth. Learn basic Spanish. Only 20% of Habaneros speak English. Respect locals. 80% share resources despite 40% food scarcity. This is Havana Travel in 2025, a dance with resilience and joy. Against the grain, while the world chases polished resorts, Havana offers raw, unfiltered soul, a trip worth taking. Havana's streets teach you to live, not just travel. Subscribe for more adventures with Around the Globe PHU, where cities come alive one story at a time.